What's going on, everybody? It's your man Jordan Pugh, and welcome to the first episode of the Pushing Up or Going Higher podcast. Man, I am so excited to be bringing you this podcast, man. It's something that I've been wanting to do. It's something that I've been looking forward to, and it's finally here. It is finally here, everybody. The Pushing Up or Going Higher podcast. Now, the question I get a lot, though, the question I do get a lot is, what is this? What is this thing? What is this podcast? What's it for, man? What's the point? Well, this podcast is for people who are looking to be successful, man. See, the point of this podcast is to motivate and inspire you to pursue your dreams. That's strictly and it's simply, that's what it is. That's exactly what this thing is for, man. I'm here to give tips on how to be successful. I'm here to share with you my story and how I reached my success, how I got to the platform that I wanted, man, how I got to live out my dreams. And I just want to share those tips and those things with you and for you. Now, this podcast is for people who have a passion, a true passion about what they want. It's for people who have a dream, they have a focused vision on that dream, and that they're going after it, man. And that's what we're here to do, man. We're here to create just a community where people can share this thing, where they can feel like they're not alone in the pursuit of their passion and their purpose, man. And that's what this podcast is for, really. That's what we want to do. We just want to share that, and we want to acknowledge people in that. Now, each week, we'll be covering a different array of topics. Now, of course, everybody knows, man, I love the game of football. I played the game of football. That's my passion. So we'll be covering football. We'll be covering just a multitude of sports. We'll be, covering schools, just everyday life, man, current events that are happening, man, just different things where we all can relate. We all can relate to different things, different topics, and I think that'll be good, man. Everybody is pushing for greatness in different avenues of their life, man, and everybody has a different way of getting to success, and that's what we're here to highlight. And so that's the goal. The goal is just to reach out. The goal is just to show that there's a different way of success. Everybody wants the key to success, but the thing about it is the key to success is different for everybody. Everybody has a different definition of the word success. So the thing is, how do we define what's successful for you? So that's why you have to stay tuned. You have to stay in. You have to listen, and you just have to subscribe that way, man. Now, speaking of that, to get more info, to know when these new podcasts are going to be up, man, you can follow me at jordanpugh29.com. If you go to my website, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter at jordanpugh29, and even Instagram at jpugh29, just to stay up and just follow things, man. Get some different motivational quotes, motivational tips, different things like that. And that's how we'll get this thing started with the podcast. Now, let's transition a little bit. Now, you are listening to this podcast, and if I'm listening, man, the thing that I want to tell you, man, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. Like, what's my story? What is Jordan Pugh's story? What's the reason behind this podcast? What does pushing up or going higher mean to him? What does it mean to me? Well, let me break that down for you. Let me break it down. Man, I've had a passion for the game of football since I can remember. Since the first time I picked up a ball, since the first time I started playing the game, man, it's something that I just love. I remember there's a funny story that my dad told me. My dad told me, man, a long time ago when I first started playing that he was nervous. He didn't think I was going to be able to play because apparently I was afraid of the sight of blood. I don't believe him, man, but whatever, man. That's what he says. And he didn't know how I was going to react. But, man, ever since I put on that uniform, ever since I got to carry a ball, I got to play in a game, man, it was nothing like it. It was absolutely nothing like it. And that's what I fell in love with, man. That's what I fell in love with. And, I used to watch games on Saturdays, college football games. I used to watch games on Sunday, and I always used to say, that's going to be me. That will be me. You see, part of the passion, man, I had a dream. But more importantly, I had a vision of my dream. I knew that there was a purpose behind me playing. The purpose was bigger than me just playing. It was something where I wanted to reach out, and I wanted to be an NFL player. And so that's where it all started, man. It all started the first time I put on a uniform, maybe 4th or 5th grade, and I just fell in love with it ever since. The thing, man, that I get asked a lot is how did you become a pro? Like, what did you do? How did you make it? Like, what What was it about you, or who did you talk to? Who did you work with? Man, the thing that I've learned over my time of being an athlete and being around a multitude of athletes is everybody wants to be a pro. I hear that all the time, man, from high school kids, from middle school kids, college kids. Everybody wants to be a pro, but nobody wants to work. That's the thing that amazes me. I remember the thing that I did, man, is I worked. I remember my parents used to tell me you can have anything you want, but he said don't. My parents used to say don't let anybody outwork you. Nobody outwork you, and that was my mindset. Everybody, in this day and age, you have like the Twitters, the Instagram, social media, where everything is instant, everything is now, and nobody wants to take the time to put the work in. Nobody wants to take the time to sit there and grind it out. People have to understand that there is a process to success. Let me say that one more time. There is a process to success, y'all. There's a process. And see, that process started for me the time I put on that uniform, the time I picked up a football, the time that I was able to put on my football helmet for the very first time. The process began there. The process started there. You see, man, when I was in middle school, high school, man, I did push-ups and sit-ups every night. I didn't really lift weights like that. And, I ran and I studied and I did everything I possibly could to be as successful as I could be. With that, man, it led to me making the varsity team as a sophomore. It led to me starting as a junior. It led to me being an all-district. It led to me being an all-state. It led to me being an all-American. But the thing about it was I didn't focus on those things. I didn't focus on being the all-district, all-state, all-American, man. My focus never stopped and my vision never wavered from being the NFL, because the end goal in mind, it wasn't even the NFL. It was to be a Hall of Fame player. See, my dad always told me, he said, look, man, he goes, you just can't want for the next thing. You have to you have to think with the end in mind. And he goes, in order to be the best you can, in order to be the best player that you can, think with the end in mind. And he goes, think Hall of Fame. Because if you think Hall of Fame, you'll never stop working. And that's exactly what I did all throughout high school. And then after high school, man, I eventually earned a scholarship to Texas A&M. So, I went and I played ball at Texas A&M, man. And everything that I took at high school, man, it really was a transition. When you talk about people who want to be successful, man, and they want to be pros at whatever walk of life that you choose to go down, whether it's sports, whether it's an engineer, a doctor, whatever it may be, man, you can't lose sight of that. When I made that transition to college, man, there's a lot of influences in college, a whole lot of influences that happen in college. And the one thing that my dad and my mom always told me, they said, don't lose vision of your goal. And when I was through college, man, that's exactly what I did. The vision never stopped, man. The goal was always to be an NFL player. Like, y'all don't understand, man. I love this thing. I love this game of football, man. The passion that I had, it was undeniable. But with that passion, man, I created a purpose, and I knew my purpose. My purpose was more than just playing ball at Texas A&M, man. My purpose was more than just was going to school and just partying and living it up, man. I had a purpose of playing in the NFL. So the moves that I made, the steps that I took, the sacrifices that I made while I was in school, man, they were all in preparation to be able to live out my dream. Now, my college experience was fun, man. I loved it. To all my fighting Aggies listening out there, gig 'em and whoop. I know y'all know it a little bit, man. Now, if you're not an Aggie, you wouldn't understand. All my Aggies understand. But, man, my time at Texas A&M was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. And when you talk about my time, man, I tell you what, I graduated in 3.5 years with a business degree with a double minor in sports management and communication. I had a one-track mind to be able to get out of school early, man, to be able to focus on playing ball. But, man, I really enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed being a part of the Aggie Network, being a part of this thing that we just call Texas A&M. And, the thing that I think about a lot whenever I just think back on my time is there were so many guys so many guys that I played with, so many guys that had so much talent. And the thing I just couldn't figure out is how did I make it? How did I make it and they didn't? I just don't understand how I made it and they didn't make it. There had to be something that was different, man. And you talk about all the talent coming out of high school and it's like, how did these guys didn't even play at A&M? The thing that came down to it, the thing that I think made me different and the guys who made it different was there was a different mindset with us. There was a different way of just flat out thinking with us. You know, when it came to the purpose that I had, man, nobody was going to derail me from that purpose. There were distractions. Yes, there were things that were thrown at me that I had to handle, but nobody's going to take me from that. And I think the strong background that I had with my parents, I think, my family roots, man, that helped guide me and project me into the right way in order for me to basically live out what I wanted. But, man, when you think about all the guys, man, it don't matter what field of work that you're in. When you think about everybody that you know that was just great at something, but it's like, why didn't they pan out? It had to be something. And the thing that I've concluded just through my experience, and I'm not an expert on this, y'all, so don't be quoting me on this a whole lot, but through my experience, man, it came down to a mindset. See, I had a mindset that wasn't going to be denied. I had a mindset that knew what the purpose was. I had a mindset that knew exactly what I was working for, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me from that. Let me say that again. I had a mindset that knew exactly what I was working for, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me from that. And see, I think that's what separates people. I think that's what separates the good from the great is the mindset. A lot of people have the ability. A lot of people have the smarts. A lot of people have the wherewithal. But the thing that truly separates you is the mindset. That's why I got up early and I worked out. That's why I got up early and I watched film when nobody else was there. That's why I stayed later and I did the same thing as well, because I knew there was something that I was working for. There was something that I was working for. And then, at my time at A&M, I was a 3-year starter. Man. I earned a whole bunch of accolades there. I was, Big 12 player during my time at A&M, and I ended up breaking the Big 12 record for tackles for my position. I played safety while I was at A&M, and I had 225 career tackles. Ended up breaking that record, and being named team captain while I was in school, this and that. And those accolades were great, but at the same time, like I told you before, man, that wasn't the end game for me. That was not the end game, because I knew the purpose behind it. I knew my purpose behind it. So, as my time was done at A&M, man, it was on to, my next goal, man. It was on to the dream. But in order to get to the NFL, in order to get to what I ultimately wanted to do, man, it took a process. Like I told you earlier, there's a process to success. There is a process to success. And you have to be able to walk through it. You have to be able to grind through this process in order to be successful. And so as my time came to a close at Texas A&M, and you just think back to all the memories that you made with your teammates, the different games, the sights and sounds at Kyle Field, man, it's something that I just loved. It's something that it was hard to leave behind, but, man, it was on to the goal. So, going through this draft process, man, that was a whole crazy event. That was a crazy event, man. Just, I remember there were times that I doubted myself. There was times that it was hard just to get up and work out. But, man, it was one of those things that at the end of it, it was one of the greatest things that I've ever experienced. Through this entire draft process, man, after I graduated, I was expecting to play in different all-star games like the Senior Bowl and East-West Shrine game. Basically, these were all-star games where you got to practice in front of the coaches, NFL coaches. They coached the games, and it were opportunities just to be able to show your ability, opportunities just to be able to show you, what you can do in front of these coaches. And I didn't get any invites to these all-star games. But I thought that was cool, man. I thought I was going to be able to just to move on and go to the combine. Now, for everybody who's listening, if you don't know about the combine is like a place where they test your strength, your speed, your agility, basically all your measurables as an athlete. And it's another thing where you're in front of the NFL coaches, you're in front of the front office people. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get my combine invite, man, and I'm gonna be able to show them what I'm worth. I'm gonna show them my value and why they should pick me. So I didn't get any invite to the combine either, y'all. Nothing, man. Nothing to the combine. And I'm just going through this process. I'm like, man, what is it? I'm like, these same guys that I've played against, the guys that I played with, are getting these invites, and I'm not getting anything? Nothing? I broke these records. I was the captain of the team. Like, I played in the Big 12. I mean, what is it? And so, but through this entire draft process, my mindset didn't change, man. See, my mindset was out to prove the people wrong who didn't believe in me. Now, the one thing that you should know, and if anybody knows me, they know that if you don't believe in me, boy, let me tell you something, man. I'm out to prove you wrong. To prove you wrong. I'm telling you right now, I'm out to prove you wrong. So through this entire draft process, man, I am not going to lie to you. I was upset. I was kind of down at the fact that I didn't get any All-Star game invites. I didn't get invited to the combine. It just didn't make sense to me. But every day I went out there and I worked my butt off, man, to sit there and prove to these people that I was ready. And I finally got my chance, man. It was March 10th, man, 2010. And I was able to go to the pro day. Now, pro day is nothing but a combine at your school. So everybody that played at A&M, they had the opportunity to participate in the pro day. And I remember I went down there and I was ready, man. I knew the work that I put in. I'd put in all this work over these weeks. I was ready to go. And basically, make a long story short, at the end of the pro day, I found out the results, and man, I would have ran the fastest 40 out of anybody in the combine that would have been in my position. I would have had the second highest vertical jump. Would have been top 5 in broad jump, all different measurables that are measured at the combine. And I didn't get invited. And if I would have got invited, I would have performed in the top of those categories. You see, the reason why I tell that story is because there was a purpose that I had behind the work. There was a purpose behind the work. And there was a process in order to get to where I wanted to ultimately perform. But see, it wasn't done yet. Now, through this entire draft process, still, teams were telling me that it wasn't worth my time. It wasn't worth my time watching the draft. I probably wasn't going to get drafted. They're saying, you just want to make the team and really just shoot for no higher goal than that. Now, if anybody knows anything about me, they know that don't sit well with me. And as this draft process kept going, I'm like, man, why do they keep just doubting me like this? I don't understand. It's like, was I not good enough? Did I not perform well enough? I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand why they keep telling me these things. And I remember I got to a point where, as the draft process went on and finally the draft finally showed up, man, it was day 3 of the draft. And I just remember, I got to a point where I was so upset. I was so upset. I was so mad. I was so frustrated because if anybody knows, when you put in work for something, when you have a passion for something, when you pursue something as much as, when it's your passion and you just pursue it as much as you can, and then you feel like nobody takes recognition, you feel like nobody just cares about what you've done, it's hurtful. It's hurtful to anybody who knows that. It's hurtful. It's hurtful. So I remember day 3 of the draft came, and I remember I'm just seeing name after name scroll on the screen, and there was no phone call from any team. I'm talking about, we're 3 days into this. This is the last day of the draft, and I just don't understand why I'm not getting any looks. I remember I got to a point where I was so frustrated. I was so upset. I was so mad that I remember I walked downstairs. I was at my parents' house. I walked downstairs and I ran into my dad. Now, my dad saw the frustration on my face. He saw the frustration and the anger on my face. And my dad said, look, come into my room for a second. So, we had people at the house. I walked into his room. My dad sat me down and my dad asked me 2 questions, y'all. Listen to me closely. He asked me 2 questions that I'll never, ever forget. The first question that my dad asked me, he said, son, are you mad? I looked at my dad and I was like, man, yeah, I'm mad, man. What you mean? Why would you even ask me that? I'm like, man, I'm over here watching watching the draft and watching these guys that I played against, watching these guys that I outperformed. It's like, man, the same guys I played against, I outperformed, to getting drafted ahead of me. Man, I didn't get any invites to any All-Star games. I didn't get an invite to the combine. I didn't nothing, man. But then I go to my pro day, I still outperform these guys. It's like, why am I always the second pick? It's like, why am I always the last pick? It's like, why am I always the leftover? Then my dad looked at me, and my dad asked me one more question, y'all. One more question. My dad asked me, he said, Sonny, you mad at God? I looked at my dad, and I really didn't know how to answer that question. I looked at my dad, and I said, yeah, but I haven't got drafted yet, so let me hold off on answering that question right now until I get drafted. So my dad, he told me, he said, look, man, I want you to go do this, man. I want you to give me your phone. I want you to go walk around the neighborhood and pray about it. Now, my dad, if anybody knows anything about the draft, man, your phone is the most important thing on you, because that's how teams let you know that they drafted you. So I was willing to go walk around the neighborhood as long as I got to hold on to my phone. And so me and my dad, we fought back and forth. Eventually I gave him the phone, and I walked around the neighborhood, and I did what he said, man. I prayed about it, and I said exactly what was on my mind. Good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. I think you get the point. So I remember I got to this point, man, where I was walking through the neighborhood, and I saw this bench. Y'all. And I remember I sat down on this bench, and I said this one last prayer. I said, God, wherever you want me to be, that's where I'm going to be. I'm done. And, sometimes throughout your life, there's going to be situations where you're done with just whatever you're pursuing. You're done with the situation that you're in. There's going to be times where you feel like giving up. There's going to be times where it seems like all the work you've done was for nothing. And I had got to that point when I sat on that bench and said that prayer. I got to the point where I felt like all the work that I've done was for nothing. I felt like everything that I had worked for, everything that I wanted since I can remember, since the 4th or 5th grade was for nothing. It was absolutely for nothing. That's what I felt like. So I sat there and I said that prayer, and I said, God, wherever you want me to be, that's where I'm going to be. And I promise y'all, 30 seconds later, I wish I was telling a lie. About 30 seconds later, my dad comes driving up in the car. I don't know how he found me. He said, man, hurry up, get in the car. We got to get back to the house. Carolina's on the phone. I said, Carolina's on the phone. He said, yeah, man, Carolina's on the phone. I said, well, where's my cell phone at? He's like, look, I don't know. I lost your cell phone. I'm like, man, how did you lose my cell phone? But, we get into a whole other story, y'all. So we're going to have to say that for another podcast. So we get in the house, man, we get in the car, get back to the house, and my mom comes running up to me with the house phone. It's the general manager for the Carolina Panthers. And we're having a little small talk, little small conversation, asked me how my day was going. I was like, it's all right. I haven't got drafted yet, just thought I'd throw that out there. And at the end of the conversation, man, he told me, he said, well, hopefully we made your day a little better, because we just wanted to let you know that we just drafted you. Man, I wish, listen to my voice closely. Man, I wish y'all could understand what that felt like. I wish y'all could understand what it felt like to be able to finally accomplish what you've been working for. You see, the thing about it, man, sometimes you're going to doubt. You're going to doubt your purpose. Sometimes that vision is going to get foggy sometimes on your dream. But sometimes you just have to keep pushing. Sometimes you just have to give up control and let God take over the rest, y'all. And that's what I learned that day. I learned that my dream wasn't about me. I learned that I didn't have full control over it. What? What are you saying, Jordan? You didn't have full control over it? I had a part to play in my dream, but God took over the rest. That's what I'm saying. And that's how I entered the NFL. That's how I got into the league. You see, a lot of people ask me too. They said, well, what was the time like? What's it like being in the NFL? What's it like being able to play ball, man, and live out your dream. Well, let me tell you this. The first thing about the NFL that you're going to learn is it is a grind and it is a business. You are going to learn that. Man, there's so many ups and downs that I've experienced. There's so many ups and downs that I've been through during my time and as my time has passed in the NFL, man, that I could go through. There's so many stories that I can tell. But, man, I'm telling you, man, it is a true business. But, man, you know, being able to play the game, you love it. You know, being able to go out there, put those pads on, be with your team, you know, being with guys that you build with through training camp, through off-season workouts, you just love it. You know, and yes, there's ups and downs. You know, I've been cut, you know, multiple times, and it seems unfair sometimes. But, you know, to be able to do what a rare few people have done, it's amazing. You know, one of the stories that I can tell, man, one of the things about this league that's hard is, you know, it's kind of like the draft story. When you've put so much work in, you put so much time in, you feel like it's for nothing. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's hard to combat whenever it seems like it was just unfair. You know, I was in my 4th year with the Washington Redskins, and we were in off-season workouts. And throughout this entire time, really throughout my entire time in NFL, I've always wanted to be a starter. Like, my dream was more than just being in the NFL. I wanted to play. I wanted to be a starter. I wanted to be that guy. That's what I worked for. That's what I had trained for. That's what I had dreamed of doing. And so as this 4th year started, man, coach came to me and he goes, "Pugh, you're the starting free safety this year." And when I tell y'all, there was no greater feeling than when I finally heard those words to say that I was a starter. I'm telling you, man, it was, I wanted to jump for joy, but, you know, I couldn't do that. I had to stay professional. You know, and it's like, finally, man, it took 4 years of work, 4 years of playing in this league to finally get my opportunity to start. Finally. Now, you know, when you work for something, you know, when you work your butt off for something, you're not willing to give it up because you know how hard it was to get there. You know the time it took to get there. And my opportunity came and I wasn't about to give it up. So, you know, the practices started that week and I was running with the first team, and, man, I was going in, y'all. I mean, I was killing it. I was so focused. I was going to make sure that they didn't make a mistake in naming me the starting free safety. That's how hard I was going in practice. I'm talking about 100% all the time, y'all. So, you know, as that first week of practice came to a close, we had a 3-day weekend for the Memorial Day holiday. And so I decided I was going to fly home that weekend, just try and get some rest and relaxation. But, man, that weekend, I lost something that I didn't even know I took for granted, man. I lost something that I didn't even know was that vital to me. That weekend, I lost my hearing. And ever since, I've been deaf in my left ear ever since then. Now, some of y'all are probably asking, what's the big deal? I mean, you lost your hearing. You didn't finish practice. See, when I lost my hearing, man, I lost my balance. I wasn't able to stand on my own. I wasn't able to walk on my own. I mean, I missed the rest of the practices. And, you know, doctors told me that it'd be a 6 to 7 month recovery just to be able to walk again. You know, and I'm like, why? Why? I had finally got to this point. I'd finally got to everything that I had dreamed of, man. It's like I had finally got to a point where I'm the starter. It's like I had worked for this. I had wanted this since I was in the 4th grade. And then this happens? I lose my hearing? What? I can't walk, I can't practice, and then they come to find out they tell me it'd be 6 or 7 month recovery just to be able to walk on my own? What about the season? What about everything that I work for? What about what I want? So, as the summer went on, man, as the off-season workouts went on, really, I missed the rest of the off-season workouts, and going into the summer, you know, it was one of the hardest things that I ever had to deal with. I was literally helpless. I remember there were times where I couldn't even get up and use the bathroom on my own. That's how helpless I was. And it was one of the hardest situations that I ever had to experience in my life. And it didn't become about football anymore. It literally became about just being comfortable in my life again, being comfortable just to walk and just to live. It was literally one of the hardest things I ever had to experience, because I felt like everything was taken away. Everything was taken away. So as the summer went on, 2 weeks before training camp started, man, I was able to walk. A walk turned into a jog turned into a run, and and I was able to report to training camp. I mean, doctors were amazed. They could not believe that I made it back like that. They just couldn't. They were like, how in the world could you come back off of just a illness like this and be able to walk? They couldn't believe it. So I get back to training camp and I passed my conditioning test and I was set to practice. And I thought I made it out. I thought I made it through the trial. I made it through the storm. I thought I was finally through. And, come to find out, man, made it through training camp, made the team. And then I was hit with another thing, man. They didn't want to play me. I just went through and got all the way up to week 6 and they cut me. And then, it's like I went through all this, man. I went through camp and when I got back, I was the first string. I was the first string safety in all-season workouts. So when I got back, I was third string. So I went through all the camp playing third string. That's when I made the team. And, like I said earlier, and then they got to week 6 and they cut me. And I'm like, how could I go through all this? How could I go from first to last? How can I go from first to third? I mean, I lost my hearing, lost my ability to walk. And then it's like I get back and I make it through camp, even though I'm on third string. I'm grateful that I made it through. And then it's like, dang, man, like, it wasn't even my fault that I got sick. It wasn't my fault that I lost my hearing. And it's like, now you don't want to play me. Now I get cut? I get cut? So then a week passes, they bring me back and get ready to play Denver. They had no intentions of playing me against Denver. We get ready to fly to Denver, and I go through my usual routine. Man, I get on the plane and go get my seat assignment, and come to find out, they don't even have a seat for me on the plane to head to Denver. They had to move some things around just to get me a seat on the plane. I'm like, man, I've lost my starting spot. I've lost my hearing. I was finally able to bounce back and walk and run, man. I get back and I make it through camp. They don't want to play me. Then they cut me. They bring me back and they don't even have a seat for me on the plane, man. So we get to Denver and, we play the Broncos, and, it got to a point where the safeties were playing so bad that coach finally decided to put me in. Now, against Denver, I had 8 plays. 8 plays, y'all. And in 8 plays, I had 3 tackles and an interception. And my interception came off of Peyton Manning. Y'all don't understand, man. My interception came off of Peyton Manning, y'all. Now, after that series, man, we got ready to go play defense again. And coach looked at me, he goes, "Hey, Pugh, you're out. You're out. Just letting you know that you're out." They benched me. And the next day, they cut me. See, the reason why I tell you these stories is because, man, when you're talking about pushing up or going higher, when you're talking about pursuing a passion, when you're talking about pursuing a purpose, man, there are going to be ups and downs along the journey. Man, I've had highs and lows in the pursuit of my passion. I've had highs and lows in the NFL. But, man, it hasn't stopped me from pursuing everything that I've wanted. It hasn't stopped me from understanding that there's a platform that I've been given. It hasn't stopped me from understanding that that ultimately my platform is to affect people. It's to affect people's lives. That's what my platform is for. And it hasn't stopped since. You see, a lot of things, man, is I understand that football won't last forever. You know, I'm still looking to play, still a free agent right now. And it won't last forever. But, man, I've been creating opportunities outside of the game. You know, I started my own business, Jordan Pugh Enterprises, where I go out and I speak to motivate and inspire people of all generations to keep pushing up and going higher. You know, I got a radio segment every Wednesday with Texags Radio, the Pick 2 with Pugh segment. You know, I'm a broadcaster for KBTX, man, for the pregame show for Texas A&M football. And there's so many things that I have going on. But the thing is, I understand that my passion and my purpose have led to this. But I understand that my purpose is greater than I ever could have imagined. You see, I tell you these stories because I found out that my purpose was more than me playing football. My purpose was about a platform that has been given to me. And my foundation of my platform has expanded to territories that I never would have imagined. You see, man, throughout this podcast, throughout this pushing up or going higher thing and theme that we got, man, I'm here to motivate and inspire you to keep pushing throughout your purpose and your passion, because you don't know where that's going to lead you. You don't know how that territory is going to expand, y'all. You just don't know. And that's what I'm here to tell you. That's what this is for. I gave you a little insight into me, a little insight into my story, just to open this thing up, just to get this forum going. You know, I want you guys to share with me. I want you guys to know that I'm more than a football player, that you guys are more than what you do. You guys are bigger than that. You have a bigger impact and a bigger story for people to hear and people to just share and understand that you can go after whatever you want. You can pursue your passion. You can have a purpose that's greater than you ever could have imagined. You see, I want you guys to know that this forum is here for you guys. I want you to share stories. I want to highlight the stories that you guys share. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JordanP29. You can reach me at Facebook at JordanP29. Man, share those stories with me. Go to my website, JordanP29.com, to find more information out about me. And the thing that I want to leave you with before we exit this podcast, man, now remember, bear with me. This is my first podcast, and I'm getting used to this thing, man, but we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to have some fun with it. But I want to leave you guys with this. Knowing your passion and keeping your vision on your purpose enables you to perform. Let me say that one more time. Knowing your passion and keeping your vision on your purpose enables you to perform. So always remember to keep pushing upward and going higher. I'm out. Until next time, I'll see y'all later.